which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, good evening and welcome to the March 2nd, 2020 Board of Selectmen meeting. On the agenda this evening, we have public service announcements. We have a request to amend the Petro Group license. We have department reports, police department and town administrator. A few action items to accept a proposal for the feasibility study for the recreational fields at 60 Cedar Street, accept a donation of photographs, accept the resignation of Dante Labonte from the community preservation. Oh,
Dane.
Oh, Dane.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry, Dane.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, approval of submission of the Green Community Grant, authorization to dispose of a piano at the senior center. An additional item is review application of Heal Inc. for a conversion of the medical marijuana dispensary to a medical marijuana dispensary and a retail marijuana operation located at 660 Main Street, Sturbridge. Under old business, we have review and signing of the host agreements for retail sale of marijuana. New business, correspondence, approval of minutes, citizens forum, and then we adjourn. Public service, Priscilla?
I'm sure you're going to mention the public hearing for the budget for Tantascwa, which is Tuesday, March 17th at 6:15. But I wanted to just raise a question of maybe something that maybe the schools can share with us at some point in time. I noticed that the out-of-district tuitions have gone up $100,000. That's quite a number of students. I do know there's virtual schools. I'd like to know more from them. How do the virtual schools impact us? Because there's 3 virtual schools. And is that where the out-of-town is going? Are they going out of town? Why they're going? I would just like to know why the $100,000 as a board, for the board.
Right. I have that answer because I asked them the
good.
same question. I'll forward you the email
Okay,
that I got.
okay.
So I just don't remember off the top of my head what it was. It's
Okay, so then we can speak to it next time because I've raised the question.
Sure.
And if anybody's watching, they're not going to hear the answer.
I understand.
So we can revisit it. Because
Out-of-district
because
tuition.
out-of-district tuition, that's a
Yeah.
lot of money.
It's in the,
It's in the packet.
yeah, they show the, because I saw the same thing, it's a
Yeah.
$100,000 increase, 56% increase.
Yeah.
And then in another chart, it's out-of-town tuitions.
Right, and this one here is the out-of-town, and it went from 180 to 280,
Right.
108,000 to 280,000. And I do know we lose some to virtual school, but it's got an impact.
Oh, yeah. But the out-of-district placement's really expensive. If there's even one in there that's residential, that could possibly be
Special needs.
most
That
of
could
it.
come out of
But
special
it's-
needs too,
it's
but
nice.
some of it, but
We
I
need
don't
the
think we have.
explanation for it, and our next meeting is the day before the hearing anyway, so.
That works.
we'd have
Can
it.
I read you the email response?
Yes.
Sure, I'm okay with that.
This is from Deb Boyd. Our out-of-district tuitions have typically been almost all outgoing school choice. We had a pretty low outgoing for many years, trending at less than $100,000 per year. However, beginning last year, the new mass virtual schools have been included in the school choice assessments and are having a significant negative impact. Families that have often homeschooled at no cost to towns and districts are jumping in on the virtual experience. Also, there are families that have students struggling in school and see virtual as an easy out. These folks often find it not to be the right move and come back. However, for the current year, we're shocked to find 17 students attending virtual schools, resulting in a current budget shortfall of $100,000. I have no choice but to assume the trend will continue in budget for next year at the current year attendance level. So they're seeing an increase in the use of the virtual schools, which adds to the costs.
Okay, so maybe at some point we can ask a question, or I can go through a school committee meeting and ask it that way too, but what can we do to minimize that? Because it's going to grow, and then what happens?
I understand.
Thank you. That's it.
Chase, any public service?
I have none. Neither have I.
Mary?
You're going to tell people to vote. I don't have any either, but I will vote
You could
tonight.
tell them, yes, just a reminder, voting for the primary tomorrow, 6:30 to 8 at Old Sturbridge Village. Also, the Burgess School Budget hearing is this Thursday at 6:30 at Burgess. Okay. So we have permits and applications. We have a request to amend the license for Petro Group license for the propane to reduce it. We don't usually get a reduction for sorry, it's not propane, it's gasoline and diesel. Does anyone have any question on it? Okay, then, is there a motion then to amend the license and approve it?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, 5-0.
Just going to abstain, just abstain.
Okay, next we have department reports. Police Department, Chief Ford. Good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
Good.
This month I'm only bringing forward January, because we had an early meeting this month. Our February information is not finalized in the computer, so I'm not able to provide it. So hopefully in May, I will be able to give you 3 months, or I could try to come back again in April and give you one more.
Well, we always enjoy seeing you.
I'll try to catch up, with it, but.
Whatever fits into your schedule.
But we'll get caught up so that we have both months. So all we have is January. We started off the new year. Pretty standard. There's a few numbers that are lower than last year. Nothing out of the ordinary or extraordinary for the beginning of this year. The training and operations stay pretty consistent with this time of year. And there would really be nothing extraordinary that I would add for the January report. You have the information with you. I'd be open to entertaining any questions. And that records management issue I've been working on that with our records management company, and it seems to be just in the report, because of the actual physical report itself, there are the locations that are there.
Oh,
But
okay.
somehow when we print the report, that one Main Street, so if you can see that there's 230 Main Street and Main Street being put in there, so we're trying to make some corrections on our end for it. We haven't fully figured out how to get rid of that initial Main Street. The computer asks for that location be put in, that has to have something in that space.
Well, thank you on that. Anything from the board? Chief, I noticed there were 40 individual sick days. Is that a little higher than,
It is. We have one officer who's broken his foot, so that burned up pretty much a large amount of time, and not many were immune from the flu season this
oh,
year.
it was tough.
Kind of hit everybody a little harder than normal, so it knocked a few people back on their heels. So yes, that is unusual. However, there was nothing out of the nothing unexplainable there that I couldn't justify for the time.
Okay, nothing else from the board? Anything else?
That's all I got for now.
Oh, well,
So,
short and
I'll see
sweet.
you
Thank you for
soon.
coming in, yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care, Chief. Okay, Town Administrator's report?
All right, some bad news. The 1998 Freightliner at the fire department, it's a Class A pumper, has a cracked frame. And it's been taken offline. They doubt it can be repaired. It's cracked all the way through. So the chief is looking into borrowing a surplus vehicle from another department to get us into when we can get a new one. This vehicle was scheduled to be replaced this year. So he was going to look at demo models that may become available after our June town meeting to purchase. But this Freightliner is probably out of commission forever.
Do you know what year that is?
It's a 1998 Freightliner. I guess it's consistent with some of the other ones in the area that were of the same year and the same model. Just overweight for the frame design and just cracked. The Stallion Hill Water Tower will be taken offline for inspection Monday, March 16th, for about a week. Viola Water will coordinate with the fire department and other departments on that during the time the water tower is down. Restaurant Week is March 16th to March 29th, so everybody eat out that week and enjoy Sturbridge. We'll have more information on that published, but Restaurant Week's coming up. There is a business breakfast tomorrow morning at Cornerstone Bank, hosted and paid for by Cornerstone Bank. So it's a periodic business breakfast. So if you're available, come out to Cornerstone Bank and hear what's going on in the business community. The farmers market is asking if the Board of Selectmen would like to have a table on one of the Sundays to be able to meet and greet people there and just talk to people what's going on with the Board of Selectmen in the town. The market starts June 7 and goes through October, so I'll get you some more information, and maybe you all can coalesce around a day or a Sunday to be there.
Sounds good. What's the board think?
I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, we can pick a day and then split the hours.
On the podium this evening is the results of the Gentili case that's been going on since about 2015. If you recall, this was a case where a drainage easement on a private property was seen as a taking by the property owner, and they sued the town for compensation. The State Judicial Supreme Court has ruled in the town's favor. We don't anticipate a further appeal, so that case should be over at this point. There's a couple other things here. Let's see, Wednesday, March 4th, 2020, at 3:15 PM in Salem, the governor and lieutenant governor are having an announcement relative to economic development in the Commonwealth. So if anybody wants to go, let me know. I can send you the details on the location, but this is all I got. So if you're interested in going, let me know. It's some kind, do you have any idea what that announcement may be? No? Okay, so fabulous. All right. And just one other, I was speaking to the chair right before the meeting. I have 91 hours of vacation that has to be expended or lost by the last day of March. I'm asking that to be carried over to at least through the end of April of next month.
Okay, does somebody want to make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
I do. You have to
Mary?
use your vacation.
What's that?
You have to use your vacation.
I know I do, but
Yeah.
I'm just having too
But
much,
they'll get by.
having too much fun.
Oh, he's not losing it.
No, I know, but I mean, he should enjoy some of it, too.
I will, but thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, 5-0.
All right, thank you. That's all I had. And the issue of the truck, I'll make sure you get more of a, this came in verbally from the chief last week. He's putting together a plan to get us through till we can get a replacement vehicle, and I'll make sure the board gets that information in writing.
I have a question about the tank inspection. Is there any repairs to the tank, or is it just an inspection? Because the reason I bring it up is that years ago, they used to use divers, and nowadays they have robots that inspect the inside of tanks, and so I just wanted to know why we have to take the tank offline unless there's some repairs that have to be done.
I know this is just what I got from Veolia Water, that they're going to take it down to inspect. It's a 1.5 million gallon tank. They anticipate it being back in service by March 25th. So that's, I can find out if there's repairs anticipated.
Yeah,
Maybe, it's an old
and-
tank.
Yeah, if it's very likely or possible, but I'd like to know if it's just an inspection, why are we taking it out of service?
Okay.
All set, Mike?
That's it?
Okay, next, under action items, we have a request to accept the proposal for the feasibility study for the recreation fields at 60 Cedar Street. Annie, would you like to fill us in on it? Oh, wait a minute, down to the mic for the audience at home,
Robin. Yeah, Robin too.
and Robin.
Come on up.
All right, good.
Okay, could you introduce yourself for the people at home?
Robin Schrabis, Facilities Coordinator. And Annie Rossioli, Recreation Director. Do you want to provide an overview, or do you want me to? So we ended up going out to bid for the 60 Cedar Street Recreation Field Project. At that time, we ended up with 4 companies responding, with McClure Engineering being the lowest bid. They ended up coming back, they needed to add in electrical engineering, so we had a price adjustment. That came in several thousand over what was approved at town meeting. So the Recreation Committee approved to transfer the additional funds needed from the revolving account, and this is an approved use of the revolving account. So tonight we ask the board to approve McClure Engineering for the 60 Cedar Street recreational fields for the price of $54,000.
Okay, Annie, do you know how much money left in the revolving account after?
So right now, the revolving account has a cap where you can't spend more than $30,000 in 1 year. So we'll still have, I think it was roughly $17,000 left. And that's with very high estimates on the rest of our spring spending, resetting on July 1.
Okay, thank you.
Does that mean that you transferred 13,000 from the revolving fund to this account?
5,000.
Oh, 5,000?
Or, sorry,
Yeah,
6,000.
I saw 6,000 here, and you said 30, and there's 17 left, so I, just trying to do the
That's with the
math.
entire year spending, with all use for the revolving, not just this project.
Okay,
Right.
so you transferred 6,000 like it says in the letter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, Robin, is there anything you want to add?
No, we've checked the references for McClure, and they're currently also working on Town of Sturbridge projects, and we're comfortable with their revised proposal to include the electrical engineering, and so are they.
And it's worth noting, it's still less than the other bids, even
Correct.
with the adjustment.
Yeah, don't they have a couple of projects they worked on, or are working on in Sturbridge?
They're working on the water pump
Pumps.
station,
Yep,
a couple other things.
yeah, done a lot of work in Charlton and other places, even out of state. Okay, somebody want to make a motion then to accept the proposal?
I'll make a motion that we accept the proposal for the feasibility study for the recreational fields at 60 Cedar Street with the adjusted amount totaling $54,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, let's-
Get the 6,000, so people,
Right.
Yeah, people are going to think it's
Because
54, it's only 6.
just wanted to make it clear.
Okay, next we have a request to accept a donation of the photographs from the Home of the Brave 5K race from Savannah Fitzgibbons.
Yes, the photographer worked for free for the race. We didn't quite know if we should accept the photos without some receipted gift, so we're asking that you accept the donation of the photographs.
Better safe than sorry.
That's right.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion that we accept the gift by Savannah Fitzgibbons of photographs of the Home of the Brave 5K. And I'd also in that motion, I'd like to send a letter thanking her for the photos.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Okay, next we have a resignation of Dane Labonte from the Community Preservation committee. Dane's been appointed to the planning board, and the planning board already has a representative on the community preservation, so he's resigning from that. Does anyone have any questions? Somebody want to make a motion then to accept the resignation?
So moved.
Effective tomorrow, because you got a meeting tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh. Okay, effective
Effective
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Meeting in about 10 minutes.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay, thank you, Dane.
You must feel relieved we left them off the hook.
Okay, next, we have a request to authorize the staff to submit a grant application for a Green Communities Grant in the amount not to exceed $200,000 and authorize the chair to sign. Jean, would you like to come down and explain it, and Robin?
I'm
Good
Jean
evening.
Bouvan, Town Planner.
Robin Travis, Facilities Coordinator.
So we have been, it's that time of year again, so we've been working on the Green Communities Grant application. This year, it's nice to have Robin's assistance as she goes through the buildings with contractors to make sure that we're speccing out really what we should be having in the building, so I'm appreciative for her help. So we've gone through our energy reduction plan that was approved by this board and by DOER a couple of years ago, and we've tried to select projects that we feel will make the grant competitive this year. And we are eligible to apply for up to $200,000. And it seems like the competition's going to be pretty stiff and that they have a real interest in funding the difference between regular cruisers and hybrid cruisers. So I worked with the chief to get some pricing on that. So, and weatherization, they said was really big for them this year. So given that, we've selected several projects. We're still working on getting final quotes, so these could change a little bit. And if we need to, we'll knock an item off the bottom of the list. So we have the Joshua Hyde Public Library weatherization. Already that went up from the figure I gave you. They're estimating $43,122. Burgess School weatherization, $73,878. Burgess School Phase 1 lighting, $73,468. The upgrading of 2 cruisers to hybrid, $6,800. Building operator certification for Robin and 1 school employee, $3,800. And 2 idle right devices for $1,500. And as I mentioned, those would be the first things to go. And if we have to cut more after that, we'll have a meeting and discuss that. So we'd like to ask that you authorize the chair to sign the grant application, not to exceed $200,000. It's due the week of March 29th. However, I'm going to be on vacation, so our target is the week prior to that. And if you have any questions about the projects, Robin can answer those questions.
Any questions from the board on any of the projects?
Very worthwhile ones. Nice.
For the people at home, could you explain the idle right devices, please?
Yes, so they will not allow a cruiser to idle for an excess period of time. When it's not needed, it will shut it down. And we have discussed that with the chief to make sure that he was okay with that. And he did agree to be kind of the pilot case for that. And that goes along with the anti-idling policy that the Board of Selectmen adopted.
Yeah, I have a question about Burgess School weatherization. It's a relatively new building. It should have been built to current energy codes. What specifically is the weatherization going to be?
Most of the weatherization is weather stripping on doors, a few windows. Doors are, opened and closed hundreds of times each day. So weather stripping takes a beating over time. Most of that will go to there. And there's also a section of window wall in the cafeteria that is going to get some additional insulation above that area. It seems to be a cold spot that they found in the energy audit in 2011.
How many exterior doors could there be for $74,000, for weather stripping?
There's a lot.
14 and 10, 24.
14 doors and 10 double doors, I think. Yeah. And there's also a series of roof wall junctures where they're doing a lot of the air sealing, which is similar to
Okay.
the weatherization that
That's
we
what-
did at the public safety complex earlier this year.
Yeah, a lot of the money has to be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, these buildings are always older than you think.
No.
How long, 10 years, 12
Nine.
years?
2011 was the,
Okay. a
Yeah,
little less
so
than
9
that.
years.
Audit.
Yep. Oh, thank you.
Time flies. Okay, somebody want to make a motion then?
So moved.
Second?
Any more discussion? All in favor?
That works.
Yeah.
thank
Okay.
you.
Was it
You can
easy?
call me
200.
when it's,
Go for the 200
will.
grand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay, thank you for
Good luck.
coming in. Okay. Next, we have a request to authorize the disposal of a piano that's at the senior center. There's a picture of it.
Yeah, that's Bob's
Yeah,
piano.
it's-
We'll include it in the auction that we're preparing of all the different
Excess
surplus
and-
materials.
Will there be another piano at the senior center?
No,
Surprised
this
nobody
one's never
uses it.
used.
It hasn't been used, somebody just dropped it off. People sometimes get the idea you can just drop things off and,
It's been there for
Somebody-
a long time, and
yeah.
Bob Selvey used to play it all the time. They had a great time with it.
Yeah. Nobody
Who's-
plays it now.
Is there a new one?
It's out in the hallway.
I don't,
This is on the top floor in the
I
hall.
would like more information about that from the director.
There she is.
Robin.
Yeah.
Hi,
Hi.
me again, Robin Travis. There are, to help Leslie out, there are 2 pianos at the senior center.
Okay.
This one
There's-
was just,
There's one downstairs that will stay in use, and where they have the sing-alongs with the dining room, that's the piano that they use the most often.
Yeah.
This second piano was a donated piano. There was no town funds used to purchase it at all. And it was upstairs, and it's causing some damage to the new floor that we put in, as well as the not being in use upstairs, so.
Okay, so the sing-along piano is staying?
It is, yes.
Okay.
yeah, it's all
Thank you.
it's on their schedule.
I know, I felt badly too when I saw it, I'm like, oh,
I
they will
just,
lose it.
yeah, they have a great time when they have somebody that can play the piano.
No, I saw it there the other day, and it's seen its better day, plus with the damage.
And they're expensive to maintain and tune, so
Oh,
we
yeah.
can choose to use one instead of
Yeah.
2.
Right. Okay, so does somebody want to make a motion then to authorize the disposal?
So moved.
Second.
More discussion?
Okay,
All in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, 5-0.
thank you.
Thanks again, Robin. Okay. Okay, we're down to F, review application of Heal Incorporated for a conversion of their medical marijuana dispensary to a medical marijuana dispensary and a retail marijuana operation located at 660 Main Street. Jeff, you want to take us through this,
I'll
please?
get you started. Last week, Heal has made the request or the application to now convert the medical Heal Inc. to both the sale of medical marijuana and adult use marijuana. Specifically, they are asking you to lift the 5-year moratorium that's in the medical host community agreement immediately, and then negotiate with them a host community agreement for the retail sale of marijuana as Heal Inc. You currently negotiated an agreement for Heal Sturbridge Inc. for retail sales, and we would imagine that any Heal Inc. HCA for adult use would be very, very similar, if not identical, to the one negotiated for Heal Sturbridge, and then make the adjustment to the medical HCA to lift the moratorium and have the financial provisions that were negotiated already. So I think that's a nutshell. Jonathan from KP Law is here this evening to answer any specific legal questions. He's here this evening to make the request direct. So your pleasure, Madam Chair.
Board, questions? Comments?
I-
Mike?
Yeah, the letter kind of confused me, because that's this is what I've been asking all along. Why did they file separately? So maybe they can explain originally,
Okay, could you
rather
please?
than propose this from the start.
We just didn't want to
Oh,
assume that we had the right to address the board.
oh, no problem.
If we could do so, that would be great.
Okay, would you introduce yourself, please, for the record and the audience at home?
Yes. Good evening. For the record, my name is Catherine Brauker-Adams. I'm an attorney here on behalf of HEAL Inc., and I'm joined by HEAL's President and CEO, Trish Voss. We thank you once again for allowing us the opportunity to address you, and it's our fervent hope that this request doesn't cause any further confusion on the part of the board, and that's our job tonight, is to explain what we're doing. As we set forth in the letter that we sent to Mr. Bridges last week, we're requesting to have the moratorium lifted and the opportunity to commence adult use sales here in Sturbridge in line with the other operators. We originally did seek an adult use HCA in a separate entity from the medical HCA for tax reasons. And last December, we were asked to commit from ever converting from ever executing our statutorily protected rights to convert, because there were concerns expressed about HEAL potentially having the opportunity to acquire 2 licenses, which of course was never our objective. So when that request was made, we went along with it. It was our understanding at that time that the board would be choosing 2 operators to execute HCA's with, and those 2 operators would be heading to the planning board for a special permit. So when the board elected to execute all 3 HCA's in February, we were taken by surprise. And we spent a week or so reflecting on what the potential ramifications would be for HEAL of executing that HCA that included language that required us to forego the right to convert forevermore without a guarantee that we could obtain a special permit. We realized that would be an imprudent step to take. Converting has always been a statutorily protected right available to HEAL, and the company undertook significant burdens, as we set forth in the letter, to be eligible for this right. So we're now seeking to proceed with a conversion application as opposed to a separate adult use plus medical HCA package. Mr. Bridges requested that we submit a new application for the conversion, which we've done. And with the exception of an updated timeline, all of the documents which we submitted with that application have previously been reviewed by the town. Therefore, we hope to receive approval for the conversion and execution of the HCA's. We would suggest separate HCA's for the medical and adult uses, as we've contemplated all along, and as Mr. Bridges pointed out, it would be HEAL's expectation that the financial terms and all of the other commitments that we negotiated and agreed to would be carried forward into the new documents, which would simply have a different name on the top of them. The converted co-located facility would be operated in the same manner as we've presented to the board all along, with separate sales areas for the medical and adult use patrons. A sufficient quantity of HEAL's product inventory will be reserved for its medical patients at all times. Once we have assigned HCA, we then turn to the planning board for a site plan review, as is required by the bylaw. I note that this is a rigorous review process and requires the submission by HEAL of documents that are nearly identical to those to be submitted for the special permit process. So at this point, and we haven't done this to date, Ms. Voss would like to address the board.
Thank you. I'm Patricia Voss, President and CEO of HEAL. As you know, HEAL has spent the past 4 years dedicated to seeking the approval to build out and operate a dispensary in the town of Sturbridge. We've spent over $2 million towards this pursuit, including the construction of a dispensary built to town specifications for zoning, siting, size, appearance, landscaping, parking, drainage, all to fit in with the Board of Selectmen, Planning Board, Design Review Committee, and Conservation Commission's vision for this town and to preserve the character of the town. Ms. Jamis said it best in the May 6, 2019 Board of Selectmen meeting during the discussion on lifting the 5-year moratorium on HEAL for recreational sales, saying, "They've done everything we've asked." Yes, Ms. Jamis, we have done everything the town has asked, and we have responded to all requests and concerns with the positive energy that HEAL embodies. We've been completely transparent throughout the HCA application process, providing all documentation requested by the town, including our business plan, management and operations plan, retail operational model, estimated revenue and payments to the town, operating policies and procedures, financials, bank balances, proof of sufficient capital, Corey background checks for the founders and key employees, timeline of operations, staffing plan, and sourcing plan for retail sales. We appear before you today and ask that you allow HEAL, Inc. to convert, granting us permission to co-locate both medical and adult use operations at our 660 Main Street location. The board voted in February 3rd meeting to execute the negotiated medical and adult use HCAs with HEAL. We propose to use these agreements for our conversion, which can be accomplished by simply changing the entity name in the adult use HCA from HEAL Sturbridge Inc. to HEAL Inc., and removing the 5-year moratorium and conversion prohibition from the medical HCA. Execution of these agreements will allow HEAL Inc. the same opportunity the other operators seeking HCAs are being granted, which is to begin operations when licensed by the state. HEAL has always been committed to operating a medical dispensary to provide patients and caregivers in Sturbridge and the surrounding communities with the medicine they need. We are the only potential operators who have made this commitment. Medical operations will represent 20 to 30% of our overall business when co-located with adult use operations. Now that adult use sales are allowed in Massachusetts, we need both medical and adult use operations to run a viable business in town. Conversion in this instance simply means expansion to the range of sales allowed by the state, not the elimination of the medical program, which we believe will continue to be valuable. Again, we ask the board to allow HEAL to convert, to allow the minor changes to both adult use and medical HCAs, and to allow us to sign both HCAs so HEAL can continue on its quest to begin both medical and adult use retail operations in the town.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Comments? Priscilla?
I don't have any issue with suspending it and allowing them to convert, because it was my understanding that we had the 5-year moratorium because we didn't know when the law was going to change. And so it's been an expected conversion from me, that it was going to come sooner or later. And the law has changed, and I don't see why you should be held to 2021 when the law has made it legal. I don't have any issue with the conversion. And I stand by that statement still.
Thank you.
Okay. Mary?
I think I'll be in the minority, but that's all right. I may as well say it for the record. I guess, with all due respect, I do have an issue with it because we agreed, the understanding was we were lifting the moratorium in exchange for HEAL Sturbridge going forward and competing for one of the 2 special permits, which would have resulted in us having 2 retail stores. And that was one of the reasons I was strongly, and I stated it for the record, that HEAL had a leg up in that respect. Even notwithstanding the fact that we agreed to sign 3, one of which is with HEAL Sturbridge, it was always for the planning board to have 2 special permits. By allowing this now with HEAL Inc., they do not have to obtain a special permit. They're going to go to right to sign plan review, and we will necessarily end up with 3 retail stores. And we're going to end up with them a lot quicker because at least by requiring HEAL Inc. to honor its original agreement, they would not be able to convert until next summer. So we could have 2 going forward now, and then we'll have a 3rd in a year where we have an opportunity to adjust to the negative impacts like the traffic. By lifting it right now, the other 2 will get their special permits, and we will necessarily have 3, because HEAL Inc. does not need a special permit. HEAL Sturbridge needed a special permit. And I don't see how Heal Sturbridge is at all disadvantaged by having to go to the planning board and get a special permit. With all due respect, the only one that was really disadvantaged is caregivers because they are erecting an entirely new building. Heal is at, in my view, one of the biggest advantages, even with the race to the planning board. They'll probably get their special permit first because their building is already done and erected. They'll be the first in line, even requiring them to get a special permit. And in that case, we may very well end up with 2 retail stores. And I know I'm being redundant, and I know the bylaw says 2 special permits. It doesn't apply to their right to convert. So we'd get 2 special and them. But again, there was a large majority of voters at our town-wide election in 2017 that wanted to ban all retail recreational adult use, in addition to banning cultivation. Now, it didn't fly at town meeting when we had like 1/6 the amount of people attending, but I feel like Heal Sturbridge is not disadvantaged by requiring them to move forward and get a special permit. And their building's ready to go. The only thing, there's no benefit to Sturbridge by lifting that moratorium. We risk having 3 either way, but there's a possibility that we end up with 2, 1 special permit for Heal Sturbridge and 1 special permit for either caregivers or organic. By going right to site plan review, they're not part of that bylaw at all, and we will get 2 special permits. They will go to the other 2 locations. We'll have 1 in the old Paletti's building, we'll have 1 by Friendly's, which is less than a mile apart, 3/4 of a mile, and then we will also have Heal. I don't know if you were aware of all that, but, and they have been very cooperative. And I was very willing to sign Heal Sturbridge a host agreement tonight, along with caregivers. I voted against organic, and I'm not prepared to sign that. I also don't like some of the actions that were threatened. But I don't see any reason why we need to lift it.
Okay, Priscilla?
I wasn't, and you raised a good point. Is there any reason you wouldn't stay as Heal Inc., Heal Sturbridge Inc.? Is there any reason you can't stay there and do it, continue the process that you started? Because I didn't see it until Selectman Dowling just put it in perspective, and she's 100% right. Because I totally was on board with Heal Sturbridge, and the way she raised it just now, I didn't see that. I will tell you, I did not. And
Well, it wasn't pointed out, and I'm sure that council
There's a lot of things that weren't pointed out, and it's not you, it's just in general.
Yeah.
Is there any reason you can't continue as Heal Sturbridge?
So I appreciate the question, and I expected this discussion, and, it was with a heavy heart that we made this decision that we had to pivot, after we had discussed this with the board over many months. But the language in the medical HCA that was proposed, and which we agreed to, that said that Heal Inc. would never convert, that is, agreeing to that language represents an enormous sacrifice on the part of Heal, because Heal is one of a very small protected class of operators who were licensed in 2017 and are thus, guaranteed to be able to operate at the sites for which they were approved. And with the way things, with the way we understood things to be, with the board granting 2 HCAs, we didn't feel that there was any element of risk for Heal in making that commitment never to convert, because only 2 were going down to the planning board for special permits. Agreed that Heal is well positioned to receive a special permit, but there are, frankly, nuances. We, not being privy to the application status of any of the other groups, it was presented to us that we could actually have a foot race as between the 3 groups who got to the city clerk or the town clerk on time. And that's too much of a risk to take.
Can I address that?
Yeah, sure, and I'll go
Okay,
after you.
so I just want to clarify something. The agreement of Heal Inc. not to ever convert was only in the event that Heal Sturbridge gets a special permit. So there really is, of course, there really was no risk, because Heal Sturbridge is a different entity, granted, it's the same principles.
Right.
Let's say Heal Sturbridge moves forward with the host agreement that we negotiated. Let's say that you were not selected by the planning board for whatever reason. I think it's probably minimal, but let's just accept that for the sake of argument. That never bound Heal Inc.
No.
Heal Inc., in 1 year, where that moratorium's lifted,
They could come
you have a
forward.
statutory right, notwithstanding that bylaw, to move forward with your conversion. It was Heal Sturbridge that wouldn't get the special permit. So there is no risk. The only thing is, it would delay it by 1 year. So if we can agree as a board to say, hey, we agreed to sign a host agreement with Heal Sturbridge. If they get the special permit, I'm very pleased. I would like you to get the special permit. I'm not on the planning board, but that would be my preference. If you don't, Heal Inc., under that statute, has every right in a year to convert.
forward.
So there's no downside to Heal other than waiting 1 year. And that, with all due respect, if you didn't get the special permit, would be a benefit to Sturbridge, because we wouldn't have all three possibly opening around the same time. And I don't think that's fair to our residents to waive it for no reason. Heal Sturbridge can move forward, try to get the special permit. That was what the consensus was. I'd even like to point to the meeting minutes where Mr. Eichmann, our town council, said, he stated that if 3 agreements were approved, the 3 applicants would then go to the planning board, where 2 would be selected to move forward with permits and licenses. We agreed to a special permit process for Heal Sturbridge. And I don't see a downside for Heal Inc., other than having to wait a year if Heal Sturbridge doesn't get the special permit.
Priscilla?
I agree, because, first of all, we should be doing the picking. That's what was assigned to us, and we're not. And that I have a problem with, first. Second of all, Heal Inc. has it in their contract, so there is nothing the town could do
Correct.
to say no. And you're right, we would by default end up with 3. But in my opinion, that doesn't violate the agreement with the community or the annual town meeting where they wanted only 2, because we had that contract in place before that discussion came forward. So we do put 2 retailers in. If we put 2 retailers in, it still allows Heal Inc. to come forward next year and ask for the conversion.
Can I make a suggestion here, a clarification and a suggestion? The clarification is that the draft medical HCA, which contained the conversion prohibition, that prohibition did not go into effect upon the granting or not granting of a special permit. It was the moment we executed the HCA.
Okay, well, I'm happy with clarifying language.
Yes.
I never
Yes.
realized you were indefinitely giving up a right in the event you didn't get a special
Same
permit.
here.
That was
Same
that
here.
was not my understanding. I don't even think we can do that under the statute, but our town council is here for that. Personally, though, by allowing this right now, we will absolutely end up with 3. We will forever close the door on possibly having 2. And I think and I agree with everything Selectman Jimma says, we were basically deferring to the planning board to come up with the 2 special permits. Now, we're not even doing that. We're allowing them to go to site plan review, lifting the 1 year of waiting for no real benefit to Sturbridge, and the 2 special permits will go to the other 2.
Maybe.
Well,
Yeah,
chances are, they
there's got to
seem...
be 2.
Maybe.
Because they could be
but-
one of the 2 if they stay as Heal Sturbridge.
That's right, and that's what and I don't see how they're disadvantaged, again, in any way. The only ones that were disadvantaged were caregivers who are
Major.
erecting
Major.
a new construction. They're in the driver's seat, even as Heal Sturbridge, to get a special permit, because their building's done.
Right.
Even Organic has renovation to do. They've got a system that they need to take care of in terms of not having smell, because they're going to have open flower. So they're in the driver's seat. So I would really ask the board, I know we were in the minority, but I would really ask the board to stay true to what the intent was, at least at the last meeting, which was a host agreement with Heal Sturbridge, subject to those modifications that came in with the other 2 applicants.
Can I ask,
Priscilla.
does that work with you? I mean, because we did agree I never thought that Heal Inc. would be out of the running next year. It was like for now. Would you stay with what you started with and just stay with Heal Sturbridge and let us decide if that's going to be one of the two sites?
So I've got a thought that I'm hoping can accomplish what everyone's looking for here, and I'm doing it on the fly with my client right next to me.
Let's get our counsel up here too
Okay.
then.
The reason that we came to the board at the same time as the other groups is it was our understanding that the majority of the board did want to. So we wanted you to have the opportunity to consider HEAL at the same time, as opposed to waiting for 18 months for us to sort of pop up as a third. What Selectwoman Dowling presented, I don't disagree with in terms of the timeline. However, in the scenario that HEAL Sturbridge Inc. does not receive a special permit, it's still our position that it would be unfair for them to have to wait an additional year.
Can't you come back and request it? I mean,
Well-
ask to be lifted? I mean,
What if, here's my thought, which is, what if, just for the moment, reserving all rights, we proceeded under Heal Sturbridge Inc. for an HCA and modified the medical HCA to, one, remove the remove the 5-year moratorium completely, get rid of that, that's ancient history. You know, we didn't know when, so we stuck a pin in a map 5 years down the road. It's an irrelevant date. We get rid of that moratorium, and we change the conversion prohibition so that HEAL Inc. does not lose its right to convert when we sign the HCA. HEAL Inc. loses its right to convert when it receives a special permit, which, as I understood, Selectwoman Dowling, is what at least some of you thought was in that agreement. That's an important milestone, because having that conversion prohibition go into effect when the board signs 3 HCAs is rather arbitrary for HEAL. But if we move that down the road to the point where all licensing has been received, then I think we...
but it's, may I, Madam Chair? But it's not going to be us that's going to pick the 3. We may pick the 3, but it's whoever gets the planning first and second. Because we've told planning, is my understanding, you pick them, which we're abdicating our responsibility, and we're saying to planning, it's not their responsibility, but we're saying to them, you pick them. So there's no guarantee on 3, because I don't know what planning is going to do. And I'm assuming, and the planner is here, so if I'm speaking out of turn, she can correct it. My understanding is whoever got there first got first to be considered. Then whoever got there second. So if you don't get there first or second, I don't see that you have an opportunity from what, am I right, Jean? So she's shaking her head yes. So my understanding is correct. So there's no guarantee to anybody sitting in here unless you're first or second into the door of the planner.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
And
even
then
at that though, Priscilla, there's no guarantee. I mean, it's a process to go through.
Right, but-
I mean, in a detailed process
here's the
and back
thing.
and forth, so there's no guarantee. Chances are, yes, if it's a foot race, first, second place. Mary?
And again, to reiterate, again, what Priscilla's saying, and you to a certain extent, Heal Sturbridge agreed to the changes, we negotiated, you will all have the same host agreement. You go forward, whoever makes it, and again, I think you're at an advantage, but things can come up. You are free to come back here at that time, when if in the event you are not one of the, gets a special permit, and then ask this board, will you lift the moratorium? There's no reason for us to lift it tonight. It just gets too complicated. Go forward with a special permit. If you don't get it, you can come back that next Monday, and I don't know how the board will vote. But let's say by September, I'm not getting a special permit. I wasn't first in line, or they have issues with me, and you're free at that point to come back and say, would you consider lifting the moratorium for next summer on HEAL Inc.? And we're right back to where we are, and it keeps it a lot cleaner.
I agree. I agree with you.
Okay. Mike, Chase?
I don't have an issue with the conversion now. You guys have built your building. I feel like in your industry, just being a strict medical facility is going to be detrimental to you. And you've invested in the town, you came here. I do not have an issue with the conversion. I understand that it will allow 3 stores if that takes place, but just feels like I'm okay with the conversion. I think that's what should have been done from the beginning.
Mike?
Yeah, I like Selectman Kaminsky, I don't see a problem with conversion now. I was trying to, in my mind, come up with any possible scenario where the other 2 affected parties would be negatively affected, and I could not, see that. If there is any negative effect to the other parties, I'd like to know it, beforehand, so we don't get into letters from attorneys and stuff. But that would be my only concern, is if in any way we were negatively impacting the other parties, that would cause, a problem. And I don't know if our council could answer that question. I don't see anything, but I don't.
Jonathan?
Yeah, Madam Chair, through you, I wouldn't want to speculate about what the other applicants might or might not lose if we continue on the course we're on, which would be or the discussion is on, which would be to allow Heal to convert. I wouldn't want to speculate about that.
Mary?
Well, you know how I feel, but I'd like to comment. It's not just about the applicants, it's about our residents. We're the elected officials of our residents, and we have a duty to look and see what their wishes were. There's nothing that is going to stop Heal Inc. from making a conversion next summer. That's the bottom line. They have the statute on their side. And right from the get-go, the process was to negotiate with Heal Sturbridge. We have done it in a big about face. And once again, I'm disappointed with the process. We had more than 600 voters that wanted nothing. And then we went to town meeting with a bylaw, really, that says 1.6, but that gets rounded up to 2 because you can't have a half a facility. And now we're saying 3, so we have negated the possibility of 2 because they would go to right to site plan review, negated that possibility, and we're lifting a moratorium that we agreed to, which would take place in a year. So we're saying all of them can come at once if they want to. And I don't think that's honoring our residents at all. I don't think there's anything in it not having them wait at least till next summer, where they come in transitionally, gradually. And I won't vote for it, but.
Priscilla?
I'd like the town administrator to weigh in.
I was just,
Yeah, I want to take from Selectman Dowling what she just said. We were charged with 2, and we, the Board of Selectmen, was charged to pick 2, not planning. What is your recommendation at this stage of the game? Because the process, every time we sit here, gets muddier and muddier and muddier. And we look like, it's got to be the joke of the area, because we're charged with something, the paperwork shows it, the vote of the town shows it, the town meeting shows it, and now we're pretty much saying to the residents, who cares? We're going to do what we want anyway. What's your take on the bylaw, the town meeting, and where we're at?
Thank you.
You get the big bucks here.
Yeah, clearly, I wasn't here for the original votes, whether it be the statewide vote, whether it be the town meeting vote, whether those things, and I wasn't benefited from the conversation in the community. What I do know is that you were unable to coalesce around 2 agreements, and by majority vote of the board, 3 agreements were approved, and that's your right as a board.
How is that, may I ask you, how is that our right as a board when the town at a town meeting said 2? How do we have the right to go to 3, 4, or
That
whatever?
would be more of a legal question than an administrator's question.
Because planning was going to give 2 special permits, but by their request tonight, then we definitely have 3. They don't need a special permit under Heal Inc.
No, I know, but I mean, I'm going back to before tonight, I'm rewinding it to before tonight. How do you justify, I need somebody to justify this to me, and all due respect to the attorneys, I don't want an attorney. I want you to justify that as a town administrator of this community. How do you justify going to 3 when the town meeting asked for 2?
Well,
And charged us to do it?
the reality of it is, as town administrator, I don't have to. It's you, the elected officials, have to justify that to the people that elected you. That's really the bottom line here. Whether I personally or professionally agree or disagree, you're the board. You get to vote. You voted on what we put in front of you, and you reserved that decision and requested specifically of the town staff to bring you the agreements where you could do the final review and negotiation with the applicants, and then pick the ones you saw most beneficial. The unfortunate thing is, you as a board were unable to coalesce around just 2 agreements. There's a very big split on the board between 2 of the 3 in this group. And majority vote decided that they picked 3. Legally, I don't understand the impact. I would ask that the town council do that. But as a board, you have every right to vote the way you want to vote. I can't tell a board member.
Even when a town meeting tells you what it wants?
Again, that's a legal question, not an administrative question.
May I?
Yes. Jonathan?
To our town attorney, town meeting, planning board puts in a bylaw. Town meeting accepts the bylaw. Bylaw says 2. Okay? Does any board have the right, because it's like a vote, you're taking a vote. It's like we're negating the vote of a town meeting. So then my next question comes, why bother bringing these bylaws to the town? If we as a board can negate it when it suits our fancy for whatever reason.
Madam Chair, I don't think that the Board of Selectmen's decision on this negates what town meeting did, because the planning board, who has to issue the special permit for it, is still bound by what town meeting voted.
Which is 2. But
Yes,
they
are
weren't
bound
charged.
by that, correct.
But they weren't charged to pick the 2. We were. Town planner is here. I believe she'll tell you, it was, and in their minutes that they have from back in 2019, it says that the site plans, they will give the site plan review after the Board of Selectmen picks the 2. It doesn't say after planning board picks it. It says planning board will give the site review after the Board of Selectmen pick 2.
You're talking about the minutes from what meeting?
From planning. I don't have them on me, unfortunately.
The point is,
Chase?
we as a board.
Mary, Chase?
I just have a question to ask, and I don't know if Jean can answer this, Dean can answer it, the town administrator. Our big concern was CPC kind of falling behind because they're building a new site and you guys would get hurt by our last decision. By allowing Healing to convert, does that help CPC?
That's kind of what my question was.
That was the original
Original
question.
question.
Jonathan, in reverse, does it put anybody?
Yeah,
in
right.
the
Risk.
I get that, yeah, and I guess I was.
And it would be unable to, I think,
Project.
when it all comes down to it, we really don't know it unless someone makes an issue of it, right?
I actually,
That's not a legal answer, but it's kind of,
Madam,
1 second, okay?
I have a similar question, and I just want to confirm that we all seem to be operating under an assumption or a belief that the town may have 1 conversion plus 2 special permits. And when I read the bylaw, it says, the number of marijuana retailers that shall be permitted in the town shall be limited to 20%. I guess my question is the issuance of a site plan review pursuant to a conversion permitting a company to operate, in which case that becomes 1, and then you do 1 special permit.
That's for town council to answer.
Jonathan? I know this,
Madam Chair, could I Could I have a question from the board on that? I'm not sure what the question is here. What am I responding to exactly here?
I know, I
Could you
didn't.
repeat the question?
Sure.
Yeah.
The question is whether the limitation set forth in section 31.03B, that the number of marijuana retailers that shall be permitted in the town be limited to 20% of the liquor licenses. Is there a requirement in that permitted that that consists of 2 special permits? Or can that limitation be reached by the issuance of 1 site plan review in conjunction with a conversion, plus 1 issuance of a special permit?
I think it could be reached by site plan first, followed by a special permit.
Maybe we can get that in writing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You're saying, because this is
Wait a
different.
minute, Mary.
Well-
He's-
Okay.
No, he's had his hand up to ask permission to say something. You need to use the mic, though, and identify yourself, please.
Michael Stady, CFO, caregiver. So that is the crux of the question that Catherine just raised. So if the conversion, the question is, does that open it up to 3 at that point? In which case, then no, caregiver nor organics is in any worse position. But if it only opens it up to 1, then yes, you've put caregiver and to some extent organics at a worse position by giving them the right to convert now, because they get the 1 automatically, and now there's 2 of us racing for 1, versus right now 3 of us racing for 2. So that is the crux of the question, and we would love to know the answer.
Can I
Thank you.
address something
Mary?
to Jonathan? That answer, I'm happy to hear, but it somewhat surprised me, because I don't have the bylaw in front of me, but it says, words to the effect that it doesn't apply to the statutory right to convert. So I was under the impression that, well, are you seeing that language? I don't have it in front of me.
I do.
So, you know what, I mean, tonight, I really would like that opinion in writing, because to me, it makes a huge difference in how I feel. If allowing them to go right to site plan review would still mean a special permit, in which case planning is only going to choose 1, because they're going to get the other special permit. I don't know if that's what you were saying. Then we get 2. Or was that not what you were saying? I really don't know at this point.
Just to clarify one thing I didn't say was if they go for site plan, that doesn't mean that they still need a special permit. That's
You're not saying that?
I'm not saying that,
Okay,
no.
well,
What I'm saying is that the 20% limitation, as I read this here, and I'd be happy to provide a written opinion, my first read of that here is that the 20% is not limited by how you get to the 20%. It's basically 20%. The number of marijuana retailers shall be permitted, it doesn't say how, shall be limited to 20%.
Of the alcohol license.
Right.
so you're saying that by conversion, that would be 1. See, this is different than what we
Is
Well,
it
no,
a whole different
again-
show?
heard
Wait a
before.
minute.
It's a whole different show tonight.
Regardless of whether or not that came about by a conversion of a medical under the statute.
Now, let's be clear. What we've always thought about here was that if a special permit was issued to both 253 and to caregiver, and then Heal converted, we read the law above it, which says the town's bylaw shall not be read to prevent a conversion. So that we could not read the 2 limitation as being an absolute prohibition. They would still have to go through site plan review, but it wouldn't be a prohibition. We've now reversed the order of things.
Correct.
So the result is going to be different.
Okay, thank you. So a conversion now, and they go to planning and get their permit, would count towards the 20%, and then they're not disadvantaged, because everybody thought they were competing, and then organics and caregivers competes for that other
disadvantage.
second one. Is that how you read
That's
it?
the way I read it now, correct?
Okay. Makes a difference for me.
I was thinking when I walked in the place tonight.
Okay, board?
You still have an application in front of you. I've not heard the applicant withdraw the request.
Can I ask the applicant? Are you staying with conversion, or are you willing to go back to what you originally started with, Heel Sturbridge, Inc.?
Would the board permit a request for a straw poll on our application for conversion at this time?
No.
No.
No, we're getting to the point where it's just a constant battle back and forth. And it seems the more information we get, the more convoluted it is.
Wait, I'm sorry, what was your question?
For a straw poll.
For straw poll.
Some members of the board had expressed an opposition to permitting the conversion at this time, and I think with subsequent discussion, they've communicated that their opinions might have changed. So prior to withdrawing our request to convert, I'm curious to follow up on that and to understand how the board now feels, whether that's by a straw poll or further comment.
Well, my desire has always been to have two, because that honors the wishes of our residents. They come first, with all due respect, not who's disadvantaged. It's our residents that come first, and I am strongly in favor of two. I think Heel's first in line because they were medical, and their building's done, and it just makes sense. They were part of the medical overlay district. That's the first place we wanted it. And if they can have a special permit, well, not a special permit from us, I'm going to rely on council right now, if they're converting and they take up one of those two special permits, I am happier and allow the other two to compete just like we thought they would.
Priscilla?
I am more in favor of Heel Sturbridge and allowing Heel Inc. to convert next year per their contract. And that would put you in the running with the other two and go back to what I thought it was, 3 competing for 2 spots. And as you know, you had the vote for the agreement here. I mean, they all did, but not as well, as much as yours. So I would personally be in favor of Heel Sturbridge, not Heel Inc. at this time. I think that's what you're saying. I'm not sure.
Well,
Mike?
I would be in favor of approving the Heel Inc. At this time, except my qualification was if it did not cause a disadvantage to any of the other parties that we've been negotiating in good faith with. And I think I've heard evidence tonight that it would cause disadvantage to the other parties that we've been negotiating in good faith with. So I can't really do it. As much as I'd like to in principle, if, based on council's interpretation of the bylaw, I can't put the other parties at a disadvantage at this point. So as much as I'd like to vote in favor of it, and I don't think it's fair.
Okay, Jeff. Mike, please. Seth.
Good
You're
evening,
Jeff.
Seth Rutherford, 253. I'd just like to say that, if Heel Inc. did get it tonight, it would put us at a big disadvantage. CPC and us would now be going for 1 spot at the planning board. So I would like to just make sure that the board understands that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, Mary.
Go ahead, Mary.
No, I was just going to ask.
Then we're going to
Okay,
move
then
on.
we'll wrap it up. But since we're all very concerned with who's advantaged and who's disadvantaged, I would like to give Heel Sturbridge now an opportunity to submit a host agreement, because we have 2 other signed host agreements. And if we can make a copy of the host agreement and have you sign it tonight, because I'd like all the host agreements to be on an equal playing field.
Yeah.
And now, based upon this, you don't have a signed host agreement, and I know you don't have a problem. I'm assuming you don't have a problem because you called them minor changes. So my request, because everybody's very concerned with no applicants having a leg up, I'd like to take a few minutes, make a copy of the host agreement, and allow Heel Sturbridge to sign it, because the other two applicants have signed it, and they're going to be ready to go to planning.
They have signed it? Yeah.
Well, yes, we have them
two.
tonight.
We have
We
two.
have the
We
other
have to
two
sign them
tonight.
tonight.
Yes, but I don't want to sign those until.
No, I agree, they should all be signed at the same time.
Correct.
Well, that was, no,
That
that's
wasn't the
not, that
conversation.
wasn't the, that was not the intent.
That
The
they get
intent-
signed whenever?
They
The
got
intent
signed
was to
whenever,
sign
'cause
when
that
we
way
got a
one
signed
cannot hold up
copy.
the other two.
Yeah, from the proponent. We've already voted on them.
I
All we
know.
have to do is sign them.
Well, they can just submit it
But not
right
at
now.
once.
But then, if they don't have a host agreement, they can't go to planning.
Right.
Right.
So if we don't sign their host agreement, based on what Mary just said, Selectman Dowling just said, if we don't sign it tonight, they don't get it. So they have to wait until we sign it.
Right.
So they're at a disadvantage.
Oh,
if-
I have no problem if they want to sign it tonight. I'm just saying,
We're not going to hold them.
you're not holding the other two, waiting for
For
them.
them,
Sign it tonight.
Can I make
If they
a
want
request?
signed.
yes.
Heel Sturbridge Inc. would like to sign it tonight, as drafted and presented to us a week ago Friday. However, we would make the further request that we leave I believe Ms. Gimmis suggested, Jimmis, sorry.
It's okay. no problem.
It's okay, that
Can we
G
leave the
before an
medical
irony.
alone?
Yes,
For now?
I would leave them.
You would need to
medical.
revote on that.
I
Because
didn't
the
hear the whole
motion,
thing. I was,
the motion was joined on the amendment to the medical as an approval on Heel Sturbridge. So you would need to revote that.
So what's it have to say? To revote
What
it?
are why are we revoting anything? At our last
That we
meeting.
gave it to
we
Heel
ag-
Sturbridge.
wait a minute, let Jeff explain.
I'm waiting
Your
for it.
motion to approve the HCA for Heel Sturbridge
Right.
included, as part of the motion, an amendment to the medical which prohibited conversion.
Right.
They're asking you to now bifurcate those two agreements and not touch the medical at this time. You're going to have to take a new, unless Jonathan has a different opinion, you're going to have to take a separate vote to just approve the Heel Sturbridge ACA and leave the medical alone.
I don't know why our original,
I don't either.
I don't know why our original motion really
Because it
puts
included,
any.
Because we went
I
back and we
know, I know,
discussed,
but
if you look at the minutes.
they're gonna waive it because they're moving forward. And then if they don't get it, they could come back and ask us to alter it. It still works right now.
Didn't we? Yeah, right. I don't see
it's
what.
up to the applicant. It's
The
not-
way it's drafted now, and it exists as a viable legal contract, agreed that it's fine, because assuming that Heel Sturbridge gets a special permit and operates, we've got a dispensary with medical and adult use. And at some point, we're going to come back before the board and ask to lift
Correct.
the moratorium. But there's no urgency to that.
Right.
A month before we need to open the doors for medical, we'll come in and say, can we please lift the moratorium? And presumably the board would be, well, no, it doesn't matter, actually. I confused myself there.
It's
We're
easy.
we're opening doors for adult use under Heel Sturbridge Inc. So Heel Inc. is free to go sell
Medical.
medical as soon as we're ready.
Right. So I stand behind our original motion on that.
I know, I don't know why we have
It's
to think
fine.
about it again.
Well, they were asking that you not
But they
touch the
changed.
medical
They-
from its original currently agreed form. That was the conversation. And in order to leave it alone as written today, not as negotiated, but as written and approved several years ago, you would have to separate that from your motion and leave it alone, and just approve the HCA with Heel Sturbridge.
But we've made a full circle. They're okay with just signing
Well,
Heel
that-
Sturbridge
well,
tonight.
she was-
Am I wrong?
Selectwoman Jimmis was asking a question why we had to why we had to revote, and I was telling you why.
Now, we don't have to revote. We're going to have 3 host agreements.
Right, Heel Inc.
Just
Heel
like Heel
Sturbridge Inc.
Sturbridge, just like we
Right.
agreed to in our February 12th meeting.
So
Is that-
Heel Inc. is okay with the HCA as recently negotiated.
Heel Sturbridge, right?
No, Heal Inc.
They're gonna have,
Because you're amending the medical.
No, what we're,
No, we're not.
the discussion
You are
is that we're
amending
not
the
going to
medical.
amend the
You've agreed to
medical.
amend the medical to forever forgo conversion in the event Heal Sturbridge gets an HCA. They're saying they don't want to sign that language tonight. So you have to revote to bifurcate those two agreements, which are now conjoined in the same motion.
Okay, do we have the,
I can get them.
please? Bring any of them, I thought it was settled.
well, they're attached. They're attached to our packet. We have the new ones.
But I didn't bring them because I read them at
Oh,
home.
oh, okay, I get it. I'm sorry. I thought it was
No.
all still clipped together and you just,
No, I read them at home and didn't think I'd need them.
well, we really don't.
Just a correction in the letter dated February 26 from the Attorney Schlesinger and on,
Yep.
yeah, on page 127, the age is listed two different ways. In the first paragraph, it says sale of cannabis to customers over the age of 21.
Oh, excuse me, you're talking about the application or the?
No,
letter?
just the letter, the February 26th letter.
Yep, I did two letters to Mr. Bridges that day.
Oh.
One was the application and the other was the explanation about.
This is an explanation.
Okay.
Okay, I believe,
And you're,
Heal Sturbridge Inc., first paragraph,
oh, over the age of 20, you're correct. It's
Yeah.
21 and over.
and over,
Yep.
because down below it is correct.
Yep.
21 and older.
Can we take a 5-minute, 2-minute
Oh,
break?
yes, because Jeff's getting the, I don't know if, he's looking for the motion that we did make on the Heal. Oh, that's true. Right. That is true. Chris Matthews is leaving Hardwell.
Oh, yes.
What's he
gonna do?
Mutual agreement.
Yeah, he should, after what happened.
Well, if we got rid of everyone that said things they shouldn't, probably be a better country.
Yeah.
There'd be nobody left.
What did he say?
I didn't read the whole thing, just that. It's just one of those.
Oh, I gotta.
So you must like this weather for running.
Oh my gosh, this winter's been a
Today
dream.
was good.
The whole week is,
Second winter that's been
I know, I'm
gentle.
thrilled.
Yeah.
Did you run on Friday? Or
I did,
Thursday?
yes, I did.
That was a little windy,
I
wasn't it?
ran today, yeah.
Today was good.
You saw me.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually 6 days a
What route
week,
do you do?
everywhere.
Oh,
Usually my house to McNuck's, and then I run to Tom's work by Big Y. I need a longer run. But I'm always on Route 20 because there's a sidewalk.
yeah.
But now, without snow, and cars do not look for walkers and runners, and
They don't look for other cars.
they don't. If you're at an intersection, unless you get a wave, they're looking at the traffic light,
Right.
but they're not watching anybody cross.
Right.
Anybody. It's
true.
It's true. It's
It's
very
true.
dangerous.
One more reason why I don't run.
And if you go to Walmart Plaza and you watch, it says, the sign says no right turn.
I know.
And they're tooting behind you. And it's like, can you read?
Is the red light a joke?
Must-
or-
I know. It's
It
like,
means everybody else but me.
then they wonder why there's so many crashes.
Well, that's scary every time you get in the left lane. I'm constantly looking at the cars to make sure they know.
No, I meant the right. that
I know,
you
you're
can't-
coming out. That
you
too.
can't-
That too.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you're right.
But
I see what you're going in, yeah.
both ways.
Same thing.
We haven't gotten as many leasing the building for the professional use by Walmart. Harrington's in there.
Glass one?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one.
Somebody else went in. Didn't Nelson tell us somebody was
somebody
taking
else?
a
There's
whole lot of it?
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Because there's a lot of it's a
It's a
beautiful
gorgeous
building.
building.
There's a lot of vacancy in there, though. Who went in recently?
Nelson told us, I forgot.
Actually, on our permit list,
Oh, it is?
there's an electrical permit pulled in there or something, so.
Oh, good.
It's 198 just, so you'll see a few.
You were able to read that?
On my iPad, I zoom them in,
Yeah.
so.
He's in his 30s.
Yeah, I do the iPad thing. at
Did you
home.
notice how small that printed out?
I tried to get it bigger. I
The
know.
one she emailed?
Well, I don't know. I have a magnifying glass, but.
So, and then it was like all off the page,
Glad I got,
so I put fit to page, and that's why it was so
glad
small.
I got.
Yeah, and whenever I picked it up, I said, good thing I didn't delete it out. Stretching it.
Yeah.
Scroll.
Have to talk to Cindy about that.
I know. One of those. Well, that was what you were asking about last week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we used to
I haven't
always,
received it since I've been back, so
Oh,
that's maybe
yeah.
why you haven't had it in a while.
yeah.
Actually, I think that piano would be nice in the corner. We could have someone playing right now. Sure you don't want it?
Do you know how, Chase?
Oh, no.
I haven't played since 8th grade.
Fixed your back. This reverse
I didn't know he was running off that much.
I think he's probably running off a host agreement for them to sign, too.
4 to
I'm assuming.
Well,
Weight, I mean,
Well,
you don't need industrial
do you-
ones, you're not personal.
Do you have a copy of a host agreement that was sent to you?
I think that,
He's making it?
The copy that I have, though,
to get all the
is
changes.
the one with the red line. So we'll need a copy, because the one that Mr. Bridges sent us on the, I
what
want to
day
say
was
maybe
that?
it was the 21st of February or something. We didn't come in here tonight thinking that was what we were going to sign, so I don't have that most recent, because I believe that Attorney Costanza, after our last appearance on the 13th, made a couple of really minor changes.
Yeah, I have a clean copy. I'm just wondering whether that's, I'm going to look at it now.
Bernie Sanders was moving into Massachusetts, even though this is Senator Warren's state, within 3%. I just hope I'm not supporting her, but I hope she saves face and at least wins her own state. You know, that's gonna be. But I don't think she's stepped out because she's further left. She wants to have Bernie tap her for the vice president. That's what I think. I don't know, that's just my own hunch.
It's not a bad thought.
Because everybody else, well, Bloomberg's not gonna drop out because he has too much money. He's just gonna, he's just gonna.
I think I do.
On 60 Minutes, they said, is it a blank check? And he said, well, I haven't said no to anything yet. Any requests for money?
I can't even imagine having that volume of money.
Not even 6 billion.
Figure it out. I know.
It would be a burden on your shoulders, a moral burden.
Yeah.
Because you could turn around entire countries with vaccinations. Who'd want that kind of money?
I'd like to try it for a while and see how it
1
works.
million, I mean, I would be, yeah.
No, 1B.
Oh, well, yeah, well.
This is the heel Sturbridging.
But
Do you,
Right, so
I thought
Selectmen is, that's correct.
we were going to get a copy of the motion.
The motion, you want the copy of the motion as well?
Well,
Yep.
no, that's okay. I mean, because you said we had to revote, but Jonathan brought to my attention that with our agenda, we don't have voting listed on it.
That's a legal question.
Yeah.
In Massachusetts, other states, you can, you can add or delete from the agenda as necessary, as long as it's a regular meeting.
Well, we can, but voting is a little bit different. Jonathan?
Yeah, and Madam Chair, it's not really even a voting question, so-called. It's really the subject matter is not on here. Under old business, you've got review and sign of the host community agreements for the retail sale of marijuana, the implication being that you've already basically looked at and approved the substance of those. While that's true in a limited sense, you now are taking a different vote because they're not chained. So it would not lie under old business. Under action items, you've got review application for a conversion. That's not what you're voting on either.
But if Heal this evening is okay with both of these agreements, as presented to them without a revote of the board, it would fit under old business, correct?
If they're willing to sign what you voted at the last meeting, yes. My understanding was that wasn't the case, but yes.
Yeah, that's why I thought you were
Let me
getting,
address it.
that's why I thought you were getting the motion.
No, I was
Yeah.
just told to get the agreements.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not so much,
We can't,
it's for the public, too, to be
I
aware of what
understand,
we're
I just-
doing.
if you, I wasn't asked for the motion.
I never finished my
Go through the
statement.
chair.
You read my mind,
I did not read your mind, that's the problem.
not correctly. Jonathan, excuse me.
I had a question.
Oh, Mary.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm understanding. Under old business, if Heal Sturbridge is willing to sign the agreement that we voted in, subject to those changes, tonight, without requiring us to open up the other host agreement and kind of amend it, then that falls into old business. We don't have an open meeting law. Like, right now, if they signed the host agreement, that's what we agreed to in the last meeting. If we can sign the other two host agreements, we have to be able to sign that one too, because it was all the same motion.
Right. The point was made that the motion was that the two Heal agreements were chained, so that one was contingent upon the other. So you voted to approve it, the Heal Sturbridge
subject.
agreement. Yeah,
It
subject
was
to the
all one
amendments.
motion. So I guess here's where I'm coming from, and this is only my opinion, so you'd have to, if we can't, we're not going to be able to separate it tonight because we didn't put and you will be disadvantaged because we will be signing those other host agreements. You can rely on good faith and sign the host agreement and put your name on the agenda for next time and ask us to remove the requirement on the other host agreement and rely on, a good faith. Because otherwise, we can't sign we're not going to be able to sign your host agreement. I'm not going to have an open meeting law violation in order to accommodate this new request tonight.
Our minutes can reflect that. minutes can reflect what you just said.
No, we can't, but we just can't make the motion on it. Right, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's tricky for them, but that's a business call that they're going to have to decide themselves.
Well, we're going to discuss the other host agreements as well, too, correct?
Yeah, but they made the
We're not-
changes.
It's not
But there was
really
one change
discussed.
in one.
We've already reviewed
That I
it.
Didn't
found.
both make all of them?
Well, no, I was going to raise a question
Oh,
on a
okay.
change that one made, that I wanted to raise the question.
Oh, okay. So maybe we need to go through each one of them. I thought I personally thought the initial one was tied, but I thought the second time we came that it was just, oh no, because we didn't have a motion to reconsider the HEAL agreement. We only had a motion to reconsider the other ones.
Right.
So that one stands as it did
As
at
it
the
was,
initial meeting.
right.
Yeah.
Can someone make a motion to reconsider that previous vote?
Say
That tied
no.
them together?
Sure, once it's on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda, that's the
It's
issue.
not on
That's the issue. That's the issue. Got an open meeting law violation.
Are you busy on the 16th?
Our next meeting is the 16th.
I suppose the
which
execution
you
of
only
all the
have
HCA's could be delayed by 2 weeks.
Yeah. However, at that meeting, there'll only be 4 members.
The other ones are signed, so,
Well,
We haven't-
oh, yeah.
well, she asked, can all of them be signed in the 16th? Just,
But all we need is 3 signatures.
but they were okay with it before. You gotta look at it that way. So it just,
There's an arrow next to the motion for HEAL.
Can I ask
you,
one
Andrea.
question? And I appreciate the latitude the board's giving us. Can we use our pens to strike the conversion prohibition language out of the medical HCA agreement that was voted on? There were changes made to the adult use HCA subsequent to the vote that the board took. So I don't know why this would be any different.
Well, because the motion includes the
did you get a copy of this?
medical.
We did, thank
Okay.
you. Yes, I'm saying we would sign both with the change in striking Section 4 of the medical HCA.
Jonathan, what's your thought on that?
I mean, my understanding was that the changes we made, there are a handful of cleanup changes, those were part of the vote at the last meeting, that those changes were discussed, and it was understood that those would be made as part of that vote, and that they would be signed with those changes. This would be a change that had not been discussed.
Right.
So I think it's a substantive change that'd have to be on the agenda.
May I ask you this?
Mary?
I don't know what has changed for you, why you're not just willing, because this motion you were okay with. And so I'm wondering, I mean, at this point, the board's not going to, it's your call what you want to do. But you were all okay with this on February 3rd. And so we're just following through with the motion that everybody seemed to be okay with. So I'm just putting that out there for you.
The change from February 3rd and really February 13th was determination on the part of the board to issue 3 as opposed to 2. The issuance of 3 made the conversion prohibition unpalatable to HEAL because it was giving up a right that it hadn't contemplated doing when it agreed to the agreement which was voted through.
I mean, it will definitely be signed on the 16th.
Well, they'll be 2 weeks behind. I mean, that's their call.
That's
They'll
not-
be 2
that's
weeks
not-
behind.
Chase?
And I'm just throwing this out there to see what the board feels. What if we were to schedule a special meeting within the next
Well-
week? And
No, we've done that
we've done that, okay, yeah.
on common victular licenses and stuff.
And just,
But we would have to post it 48 hours before.
Sign all the agreements then.
No, we're not holding up agreements for, I mean, if only one came in today,
Yeah.
that's what we'd sign. If 3 were in today, we would have signed 3. If 2 were in, signed 2. I mean, this is getting well beyond what anyone expected.
I mean, I would be,
You know.
I understand. I would be
Yeah.
willing to come to a special, so
I would be
48
too.
hours would be
Thursday?
Thursday.
morning.
But the other, with the understanding, the other 2 are getting signed tonight, and they're going to go to, well, I don't know when they're going to.
Well, they could.
But
We
they
don't
could.
know
They'll-
that.
They'll still be a couple of days behind them.
I would imagine.
We'd appreciate what you're proposing with the special meeting. I think that's a wonderful compromise.
And you're okay being a few days behind them?
Yep.
Well, there's not much we can do about it.
Well, no, they could, they could sign,
Soonest we can do it is Thursday.
or they can sign what they
It
already
has
have.
to be early Thursday, and if you're planning to go to the budget meeting at Burgess.
I can't come Tuesday evening. It would have to be in the
Well, it
morning.
can't be.
48 hours.
Oh, 48 hours from,
Well, Tuesday,
From when?
Wednesday.
yeah,
You
You
got,
have to be posted.
you can post it tomorrow at 9 o'clock.
Right.
Or at 8 o'clock.
right.
Or any time before the time of the meeting,
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah, so that's still Thursday.
I teach till 9:30. After that, I'm free.
AM.
AM.
Just want to clarify that one.
I am free at any time in the morning. I am not free at night.
On Thursday?
Correct.
Yeah, I'm not free at night. Mike, what's your schedule?
Well, I'm trying to get into my Outlook here. I know I have some meeting on Thursday. Hold on.
Chase, what about you?
Anytime after 9 AM works for me.
Let's see, Thursday. Oh, no, on the 5th, I'm clear.
You clear?
I'm clear on, yeah, well, I'll have to leave work, but I'll be here.
Okay, what about, so you can go into work and do some work?
Whatever time you choose,
What about
I'll be here.
11? That way we'll know.
It's good.
Gives us a couple of hours tomorrow to be sure it gets posted. And that'll be the only thing on the agenda,
11 a.m. on Thursday.
the 5th.
But we're going to go over each of the agreements, because you, even the
I
other
have
2, you
questions
have some
on one of the
questions,
2, yeah.
So we may or may not end up, well, we don't know if we'll
Yeah.
sign.
Okay,
We might
Yeah.
have to
so Thursday at 11.
be on one or more of the others.
Okay. And you,
I'll be here.
yeah, no, I know.
I'll choose
but-
not to use one of my vacation days. See, I can't get the time off.
We've let you in already.
Okay, so is that okay with you then?
I just want to thank the board. You've been very accommodating, and the dialogue is really refreshing, so thank you very much.
Can I ask a
Jeff?
question before they go? So, all we're gonna do on Thursday is take a new vote on Heel Sturbridge and separate it from Heel Inc. That's all that's gonna happen.
You
We don't
also
know
have
that
to
because-
review and sign
Right.
host agreement, because
And you don't know what's
Yeah,
going to
host
come up on
agreement.
the next 2.
you got to make it broad enough that we have an opportunity to review that host agreement, just like we do here.
Well, that's what
Because
I'm
we're not-
saying.
Yeah, well, you just said it's only a motion to,
For Heal.
Well, again,
and sign the host agreement.
yes.
Okay, so just,
You don't need a separate action to authorize a signature on an agreement if you've approved it. This is kind of a secondary action you're doing tonight because you've requested to have these in public. You don't have to approve something, then later
Yeah,
on
we've-
approve to sign it.
Yeah, we've already
no, but we,
approved them. We're
right,
just-
we're not asking, but right here, under old business, you have review and sign host community
Because
agreements.
you all
That
wanted-
same language should be used on Thursday,
Yes.
because that's when we're going to be reviewing theirs.
I understand.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
all.
Okay.
No, that's fine.
And voting too, right?
And voting too.
Yeah, and
But if you vote, you don't need the other language because you've approved it.
Let's just put
Right?
the
Yeah.
language, we're not approving it, we don't have a host agreement with them right now.
No,
We don't
but-
know what the
but
language is going to say.
Thursday, we'll have it,
Right.
we'll review
You have it in
it,
front of you right now.
we will approve it, okay? And then sign it, okay?
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
See you Thursday.
So the one that's in front of you that says Heel Sturbridge Host Community Agreement is the agreement that will have for Thursday. And we're not proposing changes at this time.
Yeah, no, that's,
There we go.
right. That's the one we had, right?
Yes, that's the one you had.
Yes.
Just because I'm flipping through now, did they make the exact same changes that the other two did in
Yes.
those three areas? Okay.
Yes. Okay. We are now down to old business. Okay. Review and sign host agreements for retail sale of marijuana. We've already voted to approve. We voted 3, but we have 2 that are signed by the proponents. So, yeah, wait a minute, Priscilla.
Yeah,
okay?
because I have a question.
Yeah.
This doesn't have the, where is the language that says we have a right to terminate the agreement?
At the end, on
Okay,
my memo.
after any subsequent violations, the sound, okay.
Yeah. I checked against the minutes, and we made sure the minutes were completed before we reviewed the final drafts of the HCA.
Yeah, and they were all,
And
minutes,
my
the
memo
3.
outlines where the changes are.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Okay.
But we're not recommending a vote. You've already voted on these.
Yeah, no,
but I
we
have a
voted.
question.
Yeah,
We
no, that's
voted
okay,
on-
wait a minute.
yeah.
We voted on them. All
This
we need
changed.
to do is sign them, and it was proposed that we sign them in public, just to,
Absolutely.
and that's no problem. But Priscilla, you said you had a question?
It appears to me that the host agreement for 253 Organic has changed on page 7. I don't recall this the last time, and maybe, they had talked about edibles on one of their contracts. Ice cream, brownies, et cetera.
That
And it's changed to, it's on page 7. And I guess my question is, it talks about CCC regulatory requirements. What about local policy?
They changed the language from what we.
Well, I thought so.
Oh, no,
No.
it changed when the vaping, there was a conversation about vaping, and we prohibited vaping. That's when that changed back in the fall. That's, the last 2 editions of this agreement had that language in it, the current language.
Yeah, but I remember asking you a question about ice cream.
Yes.
Right. That's
That
not
was in one of
listed
the original
now.
documents. not
Right, but that's not listed now. When did this paragraph change?
December.
But I asked you about ice cream last week.
I know.
Or the last meeting. That said ice cream, brownies, et cetera.
Not in the most recent ones you've seen.
Why would she have asked?
I
Yeah.
don't know, but
I
back in
don't-
December, you had an agreement.
But you did just ask about the ice cream.
I asked about ice cream at the last meeting.
The December version had the ice cream language in it.
That wasn't one I asked you, but I unfortunately didn't bring the whole pile. I have it home.
But the one you voted on did not have the ice cream language in it.
Well, that's good.
I'm not going to agree or disagree because I wouldn't have asked about ice cream if it wasn't in it, but it's neither here nor there. The other question is, there's a conservation issue with them, do they have to fix that before they go to planning? Well, someone said to me that there was a conservation issue, and I asked the conservation agent if there was, and the response from the conservation agent was, there are wetlands on the eastern portion of the property. As this is an existing site approval from conservation, it would be dependent on the scope of the work proposed. And the conservation agent said that there was some initial conversation, and it appears they will be submitting an application with their plans for review. But is that what they're submitting go to you, or does it go to conservation?
They'll be filing with both Conservation and Planning, both applicants. Caregiver has filed a request for determination of applicability already, and 253 has filed a notice of intent this morning.
How does that, okay, so let me ask this different. Are we still at the first two that show up, get it? Are we still there?
Well, what I said was, they'll go on the agenda in the order
Of which they were
of which
received?
they're received.
Okay.
And then there'll be a process for peer review and for the board's review of the applications. If all things are equal and everybody's application meets all of the requirements, then I would expect them to be approved in the order that they are on the agenda. If somebody needs to get further answers, or we're still waiting for peer
They're
review.
disadvantaged.
Well, I don't know if it's disadvantage, but it's, it could be we're in the process and the board requests something that they can't provide that evening, and maybe they get continued, but maybe another applicant doesn't get continued. But they will go on the agenda in the order that they're received.
Okay, Mary?
I was going to ask a question. Tell me what both of those, you talk fast, which is fine, I do too, but notice of intent by whom?
253.
And then what is the other one?
Request for determination for caregiver.
Okay, my question is, why was anybody doing any of that before they have signed host agreement?
Because conservation requirements do not require a signed host community agreement. It's only the special permit process. So actually.
Both of those are with, and both of those are with conservation that they filed?
And they've both already filed with design review. They were both approved this afternoon.
Okay, see, at that, I'm going to say for the record, I have a real problem with that, because we we're supposed to sign host agreements, and then it goes to planning.
But they have a lot to, with all due respect, they have a lot to do before they can come to planning.
It doesn't, hold on, but that doesn't
Mary,
happen.
but
They don't have signed host agreement. That's the first step in the statute. I don't understand why they got to already go forward with planning. I don't.
They haven't gone forward with planning.
Well, what have they done? They went to design review.
Which is not planning. It's a separate process. They're
It's
advised.
isn't it a subcommittee of planning, the design review
Excuse me,
subcommittee?
they're advisory to the planning board and to the building inspector.
Advisory.
There's nothing that required a host community agreement for them to go there. And they can file with conservation because there's nothing in the conservation requirements that require the signed host community agreement. They cannot file for their special permits without a signed host community agreement according to the bylaw.
Okay, well, thank you. But I mean, that to me is a huge loophole in the statute. Why they were allowed to go and file with conservation, maybe Jonathan can explain this from a policy standpoint. Legally, it's ridiculous. If you can't go to planning until you have a signed host agreement under the cannabis law, you shouldn't be able to do anything with conservation or an advisory board to planning, which to me violates the spirit and intent of not doing anything before you have a host agreement. I'm not saying you wrote the statute, but why you can go to design review, which is an advisory board to planning, without a host agreement is beyond me. I don't know if you can comment on that.
Just briefly, the statute doesn't address that at all. This is all based on local regulations, and in some cases in the state level, the wetlands bylaw, none of those deal with marijuana. So if the town wanted to make that a requirement of going for design review, which is a completely local process, they could have done that, but it would have taken an amendment to those regulations to put that there. So it's not there. That's what the town
Yeah, because
wanted.
Mary, when they go to planning, they have to have as much information to have a complete plan that the planning board can work with. Instead of going and say, oh, by the way, now you're going to have to go to Concom, now you're going to have to go to design review. It happens on other projects too.
But they didn't have a contract. Anyway, that's my opinion.
Okay, so anyways, we have two signed agreements, right?
You have two signed by the applicant.
Yes, so we have already voted to sign, so we will sign them tonight, right after the meeting,
Yes,
okay?
if whoever's willing to sign each agreement.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
And we've already confirmed, right, Jonathan, we do not have to, as long as there's 3 signatures, if we voted against one, we don't have to
That's
sign.
what Nicole told us, too.
Okay.
That's
good.
fine.
Yep, it's on the record several times. Okay, new business. Priscilla?
None.
No new.
Mike?
No, no.
Mary?
No.
I don't know if the rest of the board got a copy. It does say Select Board, CMRCP. They're going to be doing traffic studies during regular days and regular hours, and they have a list of the streets, and we can request 3 more locations if we wanted to. You have this, don't you?
I did not get that.
Did we get it?
I didn't get it, I don't think.
I don't recall seeing that.
Seeing it.
Was it emailed to us?
No, it was mailed.
Oh.
I didn't get it.
I don't recall seeing that.
It's transportation staff at the Central Massachusetts Regional Planning Commission is beginning to plan our 2020 traffic count programs. This program provides valuable information which is used in ongoing regional and statewide transportation planning. As such, CMRPC will be conducting traffic counts in your community this year. The attached list of count locations are planned to be completed on weekdays sometime between April and November. After the count season has concluded, the result count information will be provided to you. An opportunity is also provided for your community to request 3 additional traffic counts beyond those listed. If you are requesting additional counts, please provide a specific location on the roadway where the counter should be placed and return the enclosed form by April 1st. Also enclosed for your use is a historic summary of all traffic counts conducted in your community. Blah, blah, blah. If you know any weekly events or activities going on in your community when counts should not be done, please let me know. Okay, and
Do they say when it's going to be performed? Do we have a,
April
oh,
to November, regular weekdays.
oh. I was trying to combine that with doing a traffic study on Farquhar Road during.
They have, they've got that listed in here. They did that study on 5/30,
Oh.
2009. This is
19.
19.
19, yeah. But
It's even before my time.
I think this is the type of thing that we should rely on town staff to determine where those additional traffic counts should be, you know.
Yeah,
and
if there
that's-
are any. I mean, these hit all the,
But.
so I'll pass this on to Jeff.
Yeah, I would like to point out that the study that Mass DOT completed recommended extensive additional traffic counts, much more than what MRPC would on the corridor, the Route 20 corridor, because the data is all over the place. So I think I would like the board to ask the town administrator to look in to getting whatever is required for the Route 20 corridor for additional traffic counts.
Okay, you heard that, Jeff?
I did. I think that's an outstanding idea.
Yeah, because this.
No, it is. If we
Okay.
can kill 2 birds with 1 stone, I think
I
that's.
mean, this one's got Route 20 at Broomfield Town Line, Route 20 East Route 148.
Yeah.
So
I think we can make sure we get what we need.
it's all yours.
Thank you.
There is a map at the end that I printed out. They only sent me the 2 pages. I printed the rest of the stuff. But the,
If I need to, I'll call them and get additional information.
yeah, the map, the key to it didn't print out.
Okay.
I'm sure you can tell by the colors what's over 30,000. Okay, correspondence. Mike?
February 24th.
Oh. Time for me to wake up.
Oh, it's in my box.
Tomorrow, and ask them to send
I know it's here
Yeah.
somewhere. We
It
had
was in
one
my
piece of
box.
correspondence dated February 13th from Central Mass Regional Planning Commission, and it's a letter stating what the assessment will be for all of the communities, the 40 communities within the Central Mass Regional Planning area. And Sturbridge will be assessed $2,720.44. The total of assessments is $163,053.87.
Okay, anyone else have any other correspondence? Okay, minutes, February 12th.
I have,
Mary?
I'll write it out, but on this one, I kind of have a few, sorry. On page 78, the fourth paragraph, second line, scratch, but the residents only wanted 2 retail stores. And again, Andrea, I'll give this to you. And insert, but stressed that the majority of residents, 600 plus, voted to ban all retail stores at the 2017 town election, and the board should be cognizant of that. She also noted that the bylaws only allow 2 special permits. Okay, so that's one change. And then at the bottom of that paragraph, after we refer to a drafted lawsuit paperwork, insert the sentence, after town council confirmed that it was a public document, M. Dowling referred to a document entitled, Order, Plaintiff's Ex parte Motion for a Temporary Restraining Order, that was placed in their mailboxes approximately 1 hour before the meeting, period. The document sought to restrain the town from entering into other host agreements, period. She stated that she felt, quote, strong-armed by 253 Organics actions. And I'll give it to you after. I don't have any other changes.
Anyone else?
I think Attorney Eichmann's name is misspelled.
Oh, yeah.
We'll check.
I'm sure it's misspelled.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's it say?
Oh, yes.
I see an
It's the old
expression of
English version.
concern there.
Okay, and on 178, also, Andrea, the paragraph in the middle that begins Selectmen Jimis, the second line there, just for clarification, it said host agreements is based upon 20% of total liquor licenses. It's actually 20% of off-premise package store licenses, because if it was 20% of all liquor licenses,
We wouldn't have a conversation tonight.
we'd have 50 applicants. Okay, anything else from the board? Now, okay, motion to approve is amended.
So moved.
Is there a
Second?
Discussion? All in favor? Okay. Minutes of February 18th.
Page
Priscilla?
188, Andrea, under old business?
188, you said?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth line. Selectwoman Jimis stated that she looked at the minutes from planning board through this whole process, and this is the change. The minutes show it's the job of the Board of Selectmen to choose 2. Period. You okay? Okay.
Okay, Andrea, page 184, that first paragraph, second line, third word from the end should be testing. There's no T in it.
Third word from the end of the paragraph?
Oh, from the end of the line, sorry, second line.
Oh, test it.
Testing.
Testing. There's no T there. It needs T.
Testing, it's testing.
Andrea, second line, in.
I see a T.
No,
No.
in. From the right side 3 words in, 4 words in. See it?
Oh, yes.
That's okay. I'll have a
That's my
suggestion.
bedtime.
Yes. Yeah, it's, okay, and then, 186. In the middle there's 3 times personnel committees mentioned. It needs capital letters, proper noun.
Personnel committee,
Yeah,
capitalization on just,
the P and the C. So it's listed 3 times.
bad student.
No, I've forgotten half of what I've taught, so. Okay, anything else on that one? Is there a motion to approve as amended?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay.
I abstain.
Mike wasn't here, so that's 4, 1 abstention. Okay, could I just make a suggestion to the board? Andrea sends out the packet early enough and with minutes and everything. If we could try to get our corrections, additions, deletions to her so that she can amend it before the meeting, because sometimes it gets quite wordy. I stopped writing on your 3rd sentence, Mary.
Sorry.
No,
I
no,
don't
that's
often
okay.
do that, but that's reasonable.
Yeah. No, and even my spellings, I usually get to her, but I did. But if you could do corrections and she can give us a clean copy. Okay, citizens forum. We have no citizens. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I don't think anybody's a resident here.
Did anybody,
Yeah, I don't think so
did we
either.
have citizens speak?
I asked.
Nobody wanted to say anything.
No, there aren't any.